Welcome, I'm Ian Baker, and today we're going to cover some RV basics, more specifically how to swap out a propane tank and turn your propane on safely. Now, we will mainly be focusing on travel trailers. The process for fifth wheel will be very similar. Motorhomes are a little bit different. The reason being, on a motorhome, your propane tanks are actually mounted to the frame. It's an ASME tank, so you don't have the option to remove the tank. Therefore, you will have to go to a propane refill station in order to have that refilled. On a towable, your tank a lot of times will have a cover on it, maybe something like this, maybe a soft cover, may not have a cover at all. But we will want to remove the cover to get to that tank. Now, most commonly you will have either a single or dual tanks like this, and it'll either be 20 or 30 pounds. On a travel trailer, it will be on the tongue of the RV, just like this. On a fifth wheel, a lot of times it will be on the side. Now, you may have both tanks on one side. More often than not, you have one tank on either side. It all depends on how they build that particular fifth wheel. But again, travel trailer will be right up front. So you have a couple different options when you run out of propane on what you want to do. The most common option is to take it somewhere to have your propane tank refilled, because you're going to keep your tank in nice shape, you know, and a lot of times, especially if you buy a brand new camper, it's a brand new tank. The other option, which works really well in a pinch, if it's a Sunday and it's cold and you need heat, you can take it to a place where you can swap a tank out, exchange a tank. But again, more often than not, people opt to have them refilled. So in order to take it off, there is a couple proper steps that we want to do. First thing you want to do is actually go inside the RV and turn off all propane using appliances. You know, the obvious ones, of course, will be your oven and cooktop. But some of them you may not think about is your refrigerator. If you have a gas absorption refrigerator and it's running on LP, you'll want to turn that off, or at least the LP side, and have it just run on electric. Same thing with furnace. You want to turn the furnace off, as well as the water heater. All right, so to remove an empty tank, let's say, well, the selector knob will be here. This is the tank we're using. Now it's empty. What do? Pretty simple process, pretty straightforward. So you'll have this selector knob right here in the center if you have two tanks. And what you'll want to do is actually flip it to the other tank, the tank you are not removing. If you're removing both because they're both empty, which definitely happens, then you'll just want to place it right in the center and remove both of them. In this instance, I'm just going to remove this one. So we'll want to select the opposite tank, make sure our valve is completely closed, and then remove the pigtail here. Then we'll want to remove this wing nut right here in the center. Take off our pressure regulator, and that should allow us to kind of turn this and remove this security bar. At that point, we can then simply lift off the tank, place that one aside, grab your new tank, or after it's refilled, again, the same tank, put it right back on, and then we're simply going to reverse the process. So we'll start with our bar here. Sometimes it's a little tricky to get her in there. There we go, just like that. Gonna turn it and kind of play with it to see exactly where you want it to sit for this bar. It's not a perfect science, to be completely honest. A lot of times I'll get like one on the close one on the far one, something kind of akin to that. And then once you have that, you'll put the regulator back on. Going to screw this guy back on here, like so. Put our pigtail back on. And then, again, use the selector to choose whatever tank you wish to choose. So if you just refilled this one, and let's say this one was empty, but for whatever reason you decided to only refill one, you would swap back over to this tank right here. Then what you want to do is actually head inside and test, make sure everything's working. So to do that, I always recommend opening at least one window or vent, so that way if there is gas coming in the camper, it's not going to build up. And hopefully a propane detector, of course, will go off letting you know as well. But you'll want to open a window or vent and then turn on usually the most upstream appliance that is going to use propane is technically the best. I'm a pretty simple guy. I like to just use the cooktop because it's quick, it's easy to see. So you turn on the cooktop, wait a little bit because, there will be gas in the line still, so you want to make sure that gets out and that you're still getting propane. So usually I just turn it on, wait for 10 seconds or so, make sure it's still burning, then you're good to go. You can shut it off and you are all set. All right, folks, and that pretty much wraps it up. If you're done camping before you take off, make sure you do close both of your propane tank valves for safety's sake. Also, if any time during the process you are hearing a hissing sound or smelling propane, try to kind of figure out where that leak is coming from. If you cannot, then it is definitely something you want to get fixed. So you either want to call a mobile service tech or stop into your local service facility as soon as you can. I do not recommend having leaking propane and still trying to use any appliances inside. But it is a pretty straightforward process. Hopefully this kind of walked you through it, showed you a couple different options. Again, whether you are just refilling it at a fill station or taking it to swap out, both of those are good. Same thing applies to your fifth wheel as it does here to the travel trailer. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button. If you know someone that can use this video, then please share it with them. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. And folks, if you want to see more how-to and troubleshooting tips and information, please make sure you subscribe. That way you can come back and see a whole bunch more all about the RV experience. Thanks again for watching, folks. I'm Ian Baker, and until next time, we'll see you.